weep, grana weep, ninibong. Hello and welcome again back to my channel. For the first time ever on my channel, we're going to look at something that isn't actually from the War for Cybertron line, from the Siege line. And we're going to take a look at something a little bit special today. This is the, as it's called here, the ECTOTRON from the 35 years anniversary crossover between the Ghostbusters and the Transformers. This is absolutely amazing. There is IDW comics that go along with that. Along the way here, I am going to talk a little bit about the comics as well, so if you don't want any spoilers for the comics whatsoever, really, click off this video. This is your spoiler warning for the comics. I'll try not to go into too much detail, but I will give some background on the character himself and how it appears. I do definitely recommend that you go and read the IDW comics for this. They're absolutely great. 5 episodes, 5 comics, really good, and I think the actual combined graphic novel is actually coming out soon as well, so well worth picking up. So you have been warned. Before we go into the character itself, as always on this channel, we're going to have a little look at the box art for it. The box for this is very special. For all of those as old as I am, you will remember boxes like this from your childhood. This is in a classic 80s box art from this big Transformers logo here just on the front. We can see, but because this is the Ghostbusters version, you have some beautiful green slime just hanging off the side. More than meets the eye. At the top, a very simple transformation. We transform in 5 steps. It's slightly more than 5 steps, so that's the simplified version. There's some unhooking and things like that you need to do as well on this guy. Box art on the front is really cool. You get ECTOTRON, or Ectronymous Dimetron, Ectronymous Dimetron as he's called in the comics. He shortens his name down to ECTOTRON as we go through the comic, but his name that he really likes to be called is Ectronymous Dimetron at the beginning of them, and then he evolves into ECTOTRON as you go through. You have the green slime hanging off the side here of him as well, and you've got some lovely green slime just on the side there. So then you've got the more than meets the eye 2019 Transformers Ghostbusters collaboration logo there. Really cool. ECTOTRON on the bottom. Underneath, product design, you do get a little Slimer with this guy. Really cool, so I'll show you that, and him in his ECTO1 or ECTOTRON versions there. Some Chinese writing, made in Vietnam, all kinds of crazy stuff at the bottom there. On the side here, side panel, we have the 35 years, and again some product shots on the back. Absolutely classic artwork on the back. Love this. You have all of the product details. For those of you who are as old as I am, again, you'll recognize all of this from your childhood. 35 years of Transformers there, with the absolute classic G1 artwork on the back, and the information card here that you can cut out. When life's, and it says there, he's a function is paranormal investigator. When life splatters you with marshmallow goo, just go with it. When the Ghostbusters need a ride to the next paranormal hotspot, it's nice to have one who can also handle a proton pack. You go, ECTOTRON. Absolutely brilliant. Loving this crossover. I've got the Prime version on the way as well. Really can't wait for that to come, but this is absolutely brilliant. the box is awesome, and we haven't even got into the figure itself, so let's crack on with that. So that's the box. Then the ECTO1, and I'm absolutely amazed with how they've been able to do this and make it look so cool. There it is. You could have that on your shelf just as an ECTO1 model, and nobody would ever know that's a Transformer. That's absolutely brilliant. It's not fatter in any bits. It's absolutely perfect. Unless you knew this was a Transformer, there's no way you would guess. You have the detail in here, the top of ECTO1. Nice there at the back. You can see the underneath. You start to see it's a Transformer. You can see its body and everything there. In the front, you have ECTO1 there, and then you have some stuff on the back. Absolutely brilliant alt mode there. So the transformation itself, you have to start to unhook things here, unhook this, and then you have to just unhook the side here. Then once you've done all that, you are ready to kind of bring the proton, what will eventually become this guy's proton pack, because this sits on his back as a proton pack. You just unhook all that, and then he just comes away. Okay, so once you've removed what will eventually become his little proton pack there, the first step that you're going to want to do to transform him into ECTOTRON is remove these side panels here, push them up and put them flush against the side of ECTO1. There we go, so they just raise up like so. Then the rest of the transformation, you can see here, separate the arms like so. So you've got the separated arms just here. Then you're going to want to start on the legs, bring the feet down here. You've also got some, if you bring down the back, around the back here, you'll see you've also got some other feet to just switch out here. Come back around the front, pull the fronts of the legs down, push his toes out, and then you can swing that round and lock it into place there. Swing that round and lock it into place just there. So you've got him standing up like so. I'll just readjust my camera here. Okay, and then we start to work on the top of ECTOTRON. Then, so at the top here, you can then spin the arms round on either side, bring down the hands, unhook the hands, bring down the hands again, and unhook the hands here. Pretty cool. Then you're going to bring the wheels down and the sides of ECTO1 down there, sides, and then flip out his head, and there we have ECTOTRON, or Ectronomus Dimetron, if you want to give him his full name. But because he is a Ghostbuster, we are not finished yet. So we take what was the top of ECTO1 and we remove the gun from the side. We then flip this to this side, flip the whole thing round, and there you can see, once we attach the gun, the ECTOTRON has his own little proton pack, which is awesome. So that then sits on his back just here, and this will then plug into his hand, giving him the ability to hold his own proton pack. Just like that. Just fit back in there. And there we go. ECTOTRON with his own proton pack. I think that is so cool. And there he is. So let's have a quick look at this figure. So ECTOTRON is a Transformers, an Autobot scientist that gets sent to Earth with Prime after Zool destroys Cybertron. Now, if you haven't read these comics, it is one of the funniest destructions of Cybertron you will ever see. I definitely recommend checking it out. But that's how he ends up. His character's been specially created for these comics, and then when he lands on Earth, he decides to take the form of ECTO1 that had just been kind of destroyed in a fight with another ghost. It's buried under the concrete, and ECTOTRON takes the form of ECTO1 and then goes on to befriend the Ghostbusters, and then that's where the storyline comes off. So much like the Ghostbusters themselves, he is a scientist, and the story's crazy, and if you believe the end of the comics, he may actually be a returning character at some point, but that's the story of ECTOTRON, or Electronimus Dimetron. And then if you look, the head sculpt on this guy, the head sculpt is pretty cool. He's got his kind of Ghostbuster-y type goggles going on there. You can see there's so much beautiful modeling done on this, so much detail work. I love the way that the front of ECTO1 becomes these side panels on ECTOTRON. Absolutely great. Ghostbusters logo on the back, proton pack, really detailed, lovely plastic molding done there. A lot of this is actually coloured plastic rather than paint apps all over it. It is an absolutely beautiful piece, one that I really recommend if you're a collector of Transformers, Ghostbusters, whatever it is that you are collecting from those two. This is a must for your collection. These are I think they're quite limited. There's quite a lot of them still available. I got this for a very reasonable price of I think it was around £50, which works out around 60 bucks, I think. Really good though. For size comparison, with some G1 type ones, here is a KO Sound Blaster, so you can see that the Sound Blaster kind of towers over him a little bit there. So KO Sound Blaster is a little bit bigger. And then G1 reissue Bombshell there with him. If we bring out a War for Cybertron Ironhide as well, so you can see where he stands there. So he's kind of similar to, I guess, a Voyager class perhaps, but he's absolutely brilliant. I'm very happy with this guy. You can kind of see how he looks in the comics as well, so him stood next to himself in a comic. That's one of the front covers of the IDW comics. This is actually my favorite one, where you can see you've got Prime and ECTOTRON and the rest of the Ghostbusters all having a dance off after they beat the bad guys. And the bad guys in this are pretty surprising as well, so I won't spoil who the main bad guy is, but it's well worth checking out. Really cool. definitely a good addition. Articulation wise, we have the head. You can get a 360 on the head, and he's on a little bit of a ball joint, a little one, which is pretty good. You've got some swivel on the arms, 360. You can't get a good rotation really just because these arms are so big, but you have got some good arm articulation there. You can stretch pretty far even with the gun. Leg wise, it's a little limited. You can get some good articulation here on the side. Backwards, you're a little bit limited. Oh, proton pack falling off there. A little bit limited just because of everything that goes on at the back. But other than that, he's fairly posable. You can get some good kind of poses out of him. But yeah, he's definitely one for your collection if you're into that kind of, if you're into getting something a little bit different for a very reasonable price. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. This is the first time that I've reviewed anything outside of War for Cybertron. One other thing before I go, something else he does come with, not Transformers related, but he does come with a little Slimer, which I think is pretty cool. Really well molded, a little Slimer there. Some little fact about Slimer that I only actually found out the other day, that Slimer is actually supposed to be based on John Belushi, who was supposed to play the part of Pete Venkman, but unfortunately passed away. So when they were developing Slimer, they said base it as much as you can on John Belushi, who had just passed away. So there we go, that's where a little bit of story time around Slimer as well. So hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next video, which will probably be Soundwave. I know I said it was going to be Soundwave in the last one, but I really wanted to do this ECTOTRON one. Cheers guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.